this is a follow-up for, well, you've read that already. Why am I saying that? Follow-up for how to use your brain when it's not working, because someone asked an amazing question about, the fact that she said, I can imagine this working, but I feel like it would require a lot of repetition. And I didn't really have anything to say to that because it's literally the story of my life in the last 4 years. It's just been constant redirection. So, yes, lots of repetition. But this is one of my, as with many things in life, it is near and dear to my heart, this topic, because this is how you become who you are. Because you have to choose what you choose with your body. You have to choose it with your subconscious mind. You have to choose it with the deepest part of you. There is no other way to do this. So it's really transformational. It's really powerful. And it's incredibly healing. So let's dive in. Okay, so we were talking about if you haven't watched the other one, I don't know if you may want to go back and watch it, but basically we're talking about when your brain is so activated that you can't use it, you focus on something that is a continuous input of energy, essentially, and you keep your focus sustained on that thing until it pulls you out of the limbic loop. So your brain is too overwhelmed, you can't think, so you just get deep into your body and focus your attention on any sensation or image or energy, like a music, like a song, a physical sensation in your body, the feeling of being supported by your environment, hooking into your environment visually. Could even be, if you're practicing visualization, holding an energetic image in your mind of something that you choose to walk into in that moment. I choose to walk into a place of softness and ease and peace and so forth. So you're keeping a sustained focus on either a sensorial input, auditory, visual, sensorial, or an image in your mind. Again, image in your mind may be out of reach if your brain is really that activated, but for some people it's still available. So the cool thing about this is when this is happening, and the question was, I feel like I would get distracted and my brain would want to go back to focusing on the negative sensation or the pop, like the physical, symptom or something like that. And that's absolutely true. The brain thinks it's keeping you safe. It thinks it's keeping you alive by focusing on the symptom. So it's going to keep popping back to that. And this is where, again, you make that choice, something that's like literally a chosen in your body, because you have to get out of your head and choose it with your will. So you want to create, because you're rewiring your subconscious mind. So words and thoughts are definitely things that happen in our higher functioning mind. And images and intentions are things we can hold in our body and in our subconscious mind. So as you go through this, you're going to be very deep within yourself as you make that focus, you make that connection with the positive thing you choose. The brain's going to try to pull you away from it, and you can't really, a lot of times if you conceptualize or think about what you're doing, your limbic system activates. So it's important to familiarize yourself with an image or the intention of I choose calm. And when you're in there, when you turn toward whatever the sensation is that you're focused on, it's going to feel some kind of way, and a lot of times there will be an instinctual image for it. Like it feels like an open path towards something soft or dark or unfamiliar. It may feel kind of weird because it's very unfamiliar. Your brain's not used to leaving that negative focus to move into something positive, so it can feel very, very weird. So you want to grasp the image and your intention, and again, focus more on holding that within you as the I choose calm, and internalizing it and helping your subconscious mind realize that whenever that your brain wants to pop back over to whatever the negative focus was, with an image in your mind, and you have an intention in your heart and in your will to turn back towards whatever the other thing is. And it's gonna depend on you as to what that looks like. But the things that I found, and this is becoming familiar with your interior terrain, there is a whole other landscape that you can't see, that is you, that is your true self, your higher self. There's a spiritual aspect of you, and it's like physical geography. There's a whole other world that you can't see, so you're getting to know it by doing this. And these are the words that describe my experience of turning towards the positive And I'll offer those just to help you get a grip of what I'm saying. So dark is often the case because we've never been down this place before and it feels unfamiliar. So dark, soft because it's calm or soothing. Unfamiliar, boring because the limbic system, when it's been stuck in a rut, is used to a lot of stimulation and a lot of like spiky things, like a lot of excitement and fear. And if there are things that feel very much like geysers of stress chemistry and fear and excitement. It's very sharp. It's very zingy. And so by comparison, calm feel like a flat landscape when you're used to walking over sharp rocks feels really boring. So trust the boring. Boring is what you want right now. And it really, the fact that it is boring is just a sign of what your brain is accustomed to, which is a lot of overstimulation. Or positive in general. And again, positivity can feel weird when your brain is so used to being in a negative space. The other things it can feel like, and I want to say this because it took me a bit to recognize that, again, if you're rewiring your limbic system, a lot of times the brain does feel, it's used to having, fear creates these boundaries where you don't go past a certain point because it's scary over there, so we don't go there. And when you walk into this freedom, there's no walls. When you leave that jail cell, there ain't no walls or ceiling no more, and that's scary. It's very, very scary for your limbic system. It can be. So feeling exhilarated, feeling euphoric, feeling free, having that sense of the open, free, unrestrained sky available to you can freak your brain out. So affirming to yourself as you go through this, I trust freedom. I trust feeling open. I trust feeling calm. I trust the feeling of calm. Affirming that you trust the emotional state of it because you recognize that this is all about brain state. You're literally just moving from one brain state to another. The stories, all of them, about the symptoms, about what's happening in your life, blah, 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 yada, yada, are all just stories. They're not real. They're just entirely made up. So it's all just your brain state. You're just changing from one brain state to another. So affirming to yourself that you trust the new emotional state helps your limbic system feel safe to go there. So, and again, you have to, there's a lot of focus involved in this, and this is where it really changes your brain on a very deep level. Yes, okay, so in terms of it being a choice, it's like the difference between thinking about walking through a door and actually doing it. And when we have use of our higher functioning brain, we can say affirmations and things, and that kind of triggers the lower parts, like your limbic system and your subconscious mind, to move into an elevated state. Like if you say, for example, I feel amazing, then that can help your body be like, okay, we feel amazing. Let's turn on some good feeling chemicals. That works when your brain is working, because right now your brain's not working. Using words is usually not going to be effective right now. You want to let go of thinking about what you're doing and just do it. You get your focus going. If the limbic system pops back, you don't step outside to think about what you're going to do. You just immediately turn your attention back to the thing you were focused on. And a lot of times it's just making that choice over and over. And that's how those choices get wired into your subconscious mind and your limbic system and your nervous system, so that becomes the new automatic choice without you having to try anymore. So know that the amount of repetition involved in rewiring your brain or any process of recovery is really helpful, because that's how you make it automatic. And I want to highlight something with this. Yeah, there's a weird thing that can happen when you've been through trauma, because the brain is so addicted to negativity, you end up automatically choosing pain over pleasure, which is literally the opposite of how we're supposed to. The limbic system, the survival instinct, is supposed to be wired to choose positive over negative, to choose pleasure over pain. And I know for me, it was really, really weird for a lot of my recovery. Good things weren't appealing to me, and it was very disconcerting. I was like, what is wrong with me? Like, I don't even want to feel good. Like, that was the feeling I had inside of me, was that I didn't want to feel good, or I didn't want to be happy. And there was this immense resistance to healing. And I was like, this is really, like, what's wrong with me? And it was like a huge moment of what's the word I'm looking for? It was a huge positive shift and such a relief when I automatically started to want good things. And I'm still working on this. There's like deeper layers that, over time I'm working on it. But for the most part, I actually, 98% of the time it's easy and automatic to choose positive over negative. So again, I want to highlight that that's just because the limbic system, there's a neurochemical addiction to stress underlying limbic system impairment, and likely any other type of addiction or thing you're recovering from where there was trauma involved. Because again, the brain gets addicted to that negativity, and so it gets turned kind of backwards. Your natural inclination gets turned to the opposite of what it should be. And doing this work of consistently in a subconscious, below consciousness way, repeatedly turning toward positive things and saying and telling yourself in between as you go through your process, I trust good things, I trust pleasure, I trust ease, I trust calm, I trust happiness, I trust joy. Those sorts of things rewire, and again, the repeated choice to then turn away from the negative and turn toward the positive, what rewires your brain so that you are back in that original healthy state of choosing pleasure over pain, which is a normal, healthy way to be. So this is how you get there. If that's happening in your recovery, where you're like, why is it that it's so hard to choose good things for myself? That's why, and this will help with that. This will correct that. Okay, another thing that's important with this is that believing that something calm or positive is available is part of what makes it available. A lot of times, again, because of that addiction to, because of the addiction aspect to the negative neurochemistry, as well as the fact that your brain really does think it's keeping you safe. It thinks safe means curled up in a ball on the couch. That's what it thinks. It just thinks, like you're a rabbit. If I just don't move, then no one can see me. Hide under the blankets and there's no monsters. It just wants you to be kind of stuck or frozen, or just, not, if you don't live, you can't die, which is not true. But that's where it wants you to be because it thinks it's keeping you alive. So it will oftentimes make it feel like it's impossible to be in a positive emotional state when your limbic system is that activated. It's not impossible. It's entirely within reach. Believing that is part of what makes it available to you. Because again, when you start to believe, and maybe saying it out loud, because a lot of times if you say something out loud, it really incorporates, it gets your subconscious mind involved. So you can help override things by saying, I believe calm is available to me. I believe positivity is available to me. I believe feeling good is available to me. You're starting to bring those energies and those images and those realities into your existence by saying that. And that's part of how you can choose it. You choose it by saying, I believe this is available. And then you're literally bringing that image into your mind so that you have something, you have something to look at. And before, all you were seeing maybe was the limbic system being like, oh, no, you can't go there. You can't have this. And you take that off and say, yes, I can. I choose this. I can have this. So a lot of times this process involves persistently affirming that it is available no matter what, and then continuing to turn toward it even if it doesn't stick, because you may do this a lot and it may not stick the first many times you do it. But it does work, and you'll get more and more little bits as you stay hooked into that positive feeling longer and longer. You'll get more dose chemistry. Your system will begin to relax and feel safe in that positive place. So just know that, affirming that it is available to you is part of what can help make it available if your limbic system's trying to tell you it's not possible. Oh, okay. Last thing with this is there is often, if not always, the feeling of a dark cloud looming behind you. Once you're in that space where you're staying focused on the positive and you're cruising down the highway, it's like the limbic system's like, but what about that storm cloud back there? Because the sensation's not gone, right? There's at that point, your physical sensation or whatever the symptom is, or the scary thought, the pop, whatever illusion is happening that the limbic system has created, it's not gonna disappear immediately. It's still gonna feel like it's there. So you're down this positive path, but there's like, a purple cloud in the sky behind you. And it's recognizing, so there's two main things, and possibly more, but I'll give you this, that happen that where your brain will try to get you off that track. That it feels like it's not safe to let go of that. That, again, because it thinks it's keeping you alive, there's this feeling that you can't forget about this. Like, don't forget about this. It's important. Total BS. Absolute lie. You've been trying to lose this thing for a long time. You want it gone. I guarantee you. And it's completely safe to let it go. And that's where, again, as you go through your process, whether in the moment or at other times, affirming that you know what you're doing and it's safe to move forward in your life. It's safe to move into a positive emotion. It's safe to let go of the trauma and all the looping things and the physical sensations and all of it. Oh yes, or that you will lose something important if you do. And this is something that was brought to my attention, and I've known it for a long time, that many people associate change with loss. This is a good thing, because again, guaranteed, you want to lose whatever you're losing. The thing you're losing has been driving you nuts for years. It's time to lose it. So that's one of the things that I've affirmed for myself, is when my limbic system creates this feeling of like, oh my gosh, you're losing this, and I would say, I want to lose that, brain. Like, I want that gone. I don't need to look at it to know I don't want it anymore. I've worked very hard to get to this point, and I choose to lose this. It's something, and when I lose that, and then when you affirm that, you can then come back and realize in that moment how much goodness you're receiving in that moment with your positive focus. So keep your focus on what you're gaining. Once you've affirmed that it's safe to let that go, and again, you may need to do this outside of the time when you're actually in the process, so that you have these concepts at the ready when you're in it. But affirming that it's safe to let that go, and that you choose to lose it, allows you to actually receive the good thing that's literally coming into you in that moment. Whether, again, it's any whatever positive focus you have, there'll be a really positive sensation entering your body and mind with that. That's what you're gaining by letting go of the negative thing. Yes, and yeah, part of it is the limbic system wants to make it feel like you don't forget what happened, because that's how trauma works. It thinks if we just think about the trauma constantly, we'll keep it from happening. All that actually means is that it's then happening inside of you all the time. So it's completely illogical, because that brain, that reptilian brain, is not very intelligent. So yeah, remind yourself that I want to unknow that. It's safe to let it go. I choose to unknow it. I don't want to know it. Whatever that is, it's not true, and I don't want to know it anymore. The other thing I've told myself is there's nothing to know. Like, it was a story. I don't want it. It was a story that was made up. I don't want to choose to unknow it. And another thing, yeah, there's a lot of times, this is where death has become a very good friend of mine in recovery, because you really are losing these aspects of yourself that weren't authentic, and you want them gone. And so I will bring up as an image or an analogy in my mind, like, the physical death of something means it is no more, and it can't come back. And that's exactly what you want when it comes to these old patterns. You want them gone, where they, like, there's no chance of them ever moving again. You want them gone and dead and in the past, like, just totally not existing anymore. So recognizing that the goodness of that, and one of the things that was a concept brought to me, or an idea brought to me by an author who I really find very inspiring, is that that we can give things a good death. Because in order, like, life is a cyclical thing. We go through seasons of life where things serve us for a while, and then they've outrun their purpose, and it no longer serves you. And so realizing that you can choose to give something a good death and honor it and say, like, thank you for your service. Whatever you were, you kept me alive for a while. You were a coping mechanism that served me for some period of time in my life. Thank you. And now I'm giving you a good death, and I'm saying goodbye, and I'm letting you go forever. And helping yourself to get comfortable with that process is paramount to living a full life, because there's always going to be things that are outrunning their service and their usefulness that it's time to let go of. And I actually came across this quote this morning, and I don't remember what the quote is exactly, but basically that life is just the process of dying is the process of living, because we're always letting go of things so that we can move into something new. If we're truly alive and dynamic, there will always be things leaving and things coming in your experience. So there is a great freedom gained in honoring how beautiful death is because of that, because we cannot have something new unless we allow what is old to pass away. So there's a great freedom, and yeah, there's just a lot of profound wisdom and understanding that we gain by living this out. So hopefully that made sense and is helpful to those of you who are embarking on learning how to rewire your brain when it's not working. All of my love to you, and as much as you can, have fun with the journey, because it can be fun if you allow it to be. Mwah!